Hey there, this is Maria Weber with Simplified Partners. Thank you for joining me on my latest video. What we're going to talk about today are going to be 3 tips for helping you to develop structured habits for your small business. And in so doing, the goal is to reduce overwhelm and to hopefully give you more clarity and greater profits in your business. So let's go ahead and dive into this topic today. So what are structured habits exactly? Well, when you think about your business, there are 1,000 different things, right, that you have to do, right? You have to develop a strategy for your business. You have to develop goals for your business. You have to develop your offers. What are the products and services that you offer? You have to figure out how you market your products and services and who is going to do that. You have to be responsible for sales, for accounting, for operations, for all these different pieces and parts of the business. And so we all get to a point as business owners that we cannot physically, let's say, do all of the things, or many times we get overwhelmed by the fact that we're trying to juggle so many things that we find that when we're over here working on something really massive over here like hits the ground. We're like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? I didn't know. And it's not that we don't have the best of intentions, and even it's not that we don't know it needs to be done, let's say, but it just happens. And so let me give you an example of, I'm sure you can think of a million examples, but here's just one example to bring home the point of why we need structured systems and structured habits. Is that, let's say that I'm working really hard on a new offer, and I have clients that actually want to purchase my offer, but over here, I didn't pay the credit card bill this month, or something else like, oh man, like they're the consequence for doing that because now I have to pay interest, let's say on that credit card, or I have to pay a late fee. And then I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. I missed this thing. And so we have the best of intentions, but we have to come to a realization really at any stage of business, whether you are just starting a business and it's just you, or you have a small team, or you're really scaling in your multiple 6 figures or 7-figure business, there's always going to be a limit to what we can do, right? And so here's where structure and these structured habits come into play. What we have to do is we have to get very clear on the things that we must keep our eye on as a business owner on a regular basis. There are going to be 1,000 things that you can do, but what are the things that you, as the business owner, need to keep up with on a regular basis? And so here is tip number 1. Get it on paper. That is, get it on paper. I want you to pause this video. Please, please pause this video. My videos are going to be working sections like you and I are working together one-on-one. Is that I want you to stop the video and I want you to do a brain dump of everything you can think of that needs to be done on a regular basis or a big ball is going to drop, okay? And I'm going to show you in the video how I actually do this. And so, listen, I'm all for digital, but when we want to truly move the needle in our business and we want to truly understand and make happen these things that are in our minds, right? So many of us have like goals, and then we have the things we actually do, and we get frustrated because we can never seem to get there. What I have found is really helpful is to have it on paper, and I'm going to share with you. This is actually a habit tracker. But I use the habit tracker not just for my personal, like I have a page, and you can't really read this, but like this page of my habit tracker, and I'll put this below if you want to check this one out. But this side of my habit tracker is for personal, but the other side is all business. Okay, so I'm going to read you some of what I have on here as an idea of where you can start. So the top part of this are the daily habits. The section here, there's a section for weekly routines and habits. And then section 3 over here is monthly. Okay. So what we're going to do today is I just want to read you a few things I have on my daily routine for my business. One thing I have is I want to check my YouTube comments every single day. I want to stay on top of the comments. I really find that it's important on my channel that this is my primary way of communicating with you guys. So I want to be very responsive, and I don't want to delegate that yet to someone else. I want to do that. So that's on my list. The other thing I want to do is make sure that I have a post on social media each day. The other thing I do is I clean up my inbox, and I want to make sure that I'm on top of my client communications. Again, that's really important that I am very responsive, that I can turn that around for them very quickly. Another thing that's important is that I want to stay on top of my daily sales and marketing efforts. So for me, one thing that I've struggled with in the past, and you might find this too, is that we're so busy with delivery of the thing, or we're so busy with fulfillment that we don't stay in front of our business enough and do sales and marketing. And so if it's something that you want to track, then you want to have it on a tracker. And I would say get a physical tracker. So let's talk a little bit more before we move to tip number 2, is let's talk about what needs to go on your daily structure, your daily habits, the structured habits. As a business owner, there's really 2 things that at the end of the day that you want to have on there no matter what. And that's going to be your sales, something to do with your sales, and also with your accounting. Yes, I said it, accounting. Hopefully that's not a dirty word in your world, but that's really important. And specifically around accounting, I would say your cash flow. So you want to have something on your tracker. And mine's actually, it's something I call my daily startup. So I have a task every day. It's when I first get into my office, and I do what's called the daily startup. And I have 5 things that I'm doing every day in my daily startup. And one of those things, or really 2 of those things I'll tell you, are financially related. One of those is I log into my bank and I look at all of my bank balances. And I actually log my balances every day in a spreadsheet. And even though I can have accounting software do it for me, I just want that metric somewhere that I can easily access it. And what I'm able to do, because it's in a spreadsheet, is I can easily do a trend. I can see what my cash flow is trending. How is it trending? Cash flow is the fuel of your business. And what you want to do is you want to be able to track that cash flow before it becomes a problem, right? So if I continue to see that my cash flow is going down, down, and down, I have to do something about that, right? I have to figure out what is happening around my cash flow and what I need to focus on. Which takes us to the second thing, which is sales that I talked about before. You want to measure or monitor your sales on, I would say, a daily basis. And this is going to be something that's different for every business, right? So for me, what I look at is I look at my growth around now my 2 different offers that I have. I have an offer, I do one-to-one financial consulting with clients. And I have a whole, you can click the link if you want more information, but I have a one-to-one product. And I also have a new product that I have a community that I'm building around these business and financial systems. The work I do with my one-to-one clients basically is now being offered in a community place so that we can have more conversations with just a greater, it's really awesome, like a greater audience, a greater community. So what I want to look at on a daily basis is I want to look at the growth of that one-to-one offer, and I want to look at the growth of that online. And I might measure those differently. So for my one-to-one, I'm going to see how many discovery calls have I had? How many did I have as a goal? And then how many am I actually having this week? And then I also, as a weekly, so on my habit tracker, one of my weekly items is it's to review my sales and set my sales targets for the next week. So I want to check this off. So that's just kind of an aside, is that you want to have something financially related that's on part of your structured habit, and you want to have something sales related that's on your tracker. All right, let's get to tip number 2. So tip number 2 is schedule it out. So, hey, I can sit here and I can write all this stuff down all day long. But the one thing that's going to keep me from actually checking the boxes on all of these structured habits and in your structured habits is going to be setting a time for me to do this. And I will tell you that for years, I had this mantra that played in my head, like, I don't have time. Like, I really want to clean out my inbox, or I really want to do daily sales today, but I don't have enough time. Well, okay. Is it really going to hurt you if you miss it one day? No, it's like a workout. It's not going to hurt you if you just miss one workout. The problem is that we typically don't take the time to schedule when we're going to do these things. And so you've got to do that. So that's tip number 2 is now that you have your list, I want you to look at your calendar and I want you to plug in times that you will actually do that. Now, one thing I do that might help you is that I have a theme to my days. So there are certain days that I work with clients and there are certain days that I don't. And the reason, and that took me a really long time to learn that because I used to just have client meetings like all over my week. And I was constantly moving from thing to thing to thing. And I think they call that context switching. But I was always switching to like a different part of my business. And I felt like I was just like on the surface of everything. And so you might want to do something like that. You might want to take maybe a day to focus on working on your business because a lot of these things are you working on your business, right? So if you have an offer, let's say that you have that offer in your mind, you really have to have time to like work on your offer, right? And get that offer out. And so that's a lot of these things. And some of these things are like 5-minute tasks or 15-minute tasks, but you just have to plan them in your calendar, right? And make sure that somebody can't book a meeting on top of that, right? So set it in your calendar and set it as busy so that you're busy. You are busy doing your structured habits, okay? Now let's move to tip number 3, which is track for a week. So what I want you to do, you don't even have to get this. You can just make one on your own on a piece of paper. And I want you to track for an entire week how you do. And give yourself maybe not 10 of these things. Maybe just start with 3 or 5 things. But again, remember, you want to pick the things that really are the needle movers. The other thing you can think of when you're creating this, by the way, is where are the problems in your business right now? Are you carrying a lot of business debt? Are you having a lack of cash flow? Are you not doing daily sales? What is going on? Where is the problem that you were sensing? Some of my clients just say like, we're getting the work done. We just don't have a real good process for doing it. And we just spend a lot of time in this admin, which is actually, that's my specialization. But where are the problems now? Or where do you want to focus? Those are the things you want to make sure are on your structured habit list. Or where do you want to move the needle, like I mentioned before? So again, tip number 3 is track all of this for 1 week and just give yourself a score, okay? And here's the thing. No matter what actually happened, I want you to give yourself like grace and I want you to give yourself credit that you actually tracked for a week, right? Like that you actually followed through with the plan that you had. And so to wrap this up, and I had a bonus. So this is like tip 4, I guess you could say as a bonus tip, is I want you to look at that weekly when you do this for an entire week. I want you to get really honest. And this is something that it took me, I can be a very stubborn person. And I just had to get honest with myself about this. What is my actual bandwidth? And so this might speak to a lot of you that are maybe female business owners or people that have a business, but you have a full life. And so for me personally, like, I don't just say, like, I actually do go out and I'm doing my walks and I'm attempting to get back on track with eating healthy. Like, these are things that are actually important to me, just as important as my business. And so when you do something like you write these structured habits down, you can get really clear with yourself on what is my bandwidth. You only have so many hours in the day. And so what you want to do is you might find yourself with getting honest is having to say these things over here, like I just can't do those things. If I'm going to grow my business, if I'm going to, let's say, build a new offer, if I'm going to get back on YouTube like I am here after a time, other things just have to go to the wayside. And I either have to stop them completely or I have to delegate them to someone else. Another great example, y'all, we brought 2 golden retrievers into our family recently, actually in the middle of July. So I'm recording this in August. And a month ago, we brought not just 1, but 2 sweet, adorable golden retriever puppies. And they have really changed everything in our life. And so because I work at home, I am with them a lot during the day. And so that's an example of you have to juggle things in your life. And I've had to get clear with my family. We've had to have a meeting and just say, this is who's responsible, right? So that it's not always on mom or it's not always on my daughter. It's not always on my husband. But we just had to get clear and said, that's what you want to do here. It's just be honest with yourself about what you actually do. What are the hours that you can work? And then you take those hours and you fill in the things that are most important. And then you have to go from there, right? You have to go from there wherever you are in business. You might have to, maybe you're not making enough money in order to hire someone else. Then you have to figure out, again, as the business owner, it falls on us. Like Jocko Willink is so awesome to listen to. And he talks a lot about responsibility, right? Like we have to have self-responsibility as a business owner, and it all ends up with us. So for example, if you're not making enough money with your current offers to hire someone else, then you have to change your strategy. Do you always want to be your own business owner? Do you want to remain a solopreneur? Then you have to figure out how you're going to keep doing this thing, or you have to get rid of it. Or do you want to grow and maybe have a new offer that's a higher ticket offer that's then going to bring more money in? And then you build a plan and you build goals around that. So that's probably of anything, one of the most important things is number 1, you got to have your list. You want to start tracking. And then based on what you see, you have to be honest with yourself. And I don't want you to continuously beat yourself up for not following through on these things. More than anything, get clear on what you did and maybe get clear on what else happened. What are the things in your life that kept you from doing your structured routines as a business owner? What are those things? Are you too available to your family? Are you trying to do all this volunteering stuff at school? Where do you spend your time? Do you have 2 puppies that you're now walking on your lunch hour? What are those things that are maybe keeping you from moving forward? So I hope this video was helpful. I can't tell you how much I really enjoy having a actual habit tracker, a structured habit tracker. Like I said, I have one side that's all for my personal life, and I have this other side that is for my business life. And so it's awesome because even if I have 10 minutes, I'm like, all right, let's get this one done. So I can't wait to hear your comments and other topics you want to hear on this channel. Please leave me a comment and I will hear you and I will respond. As you know, probably that same day or the next day. Take care. Talk to you soon.